Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Today I'm just wrapping up the results from Ohio State's Strongest Man and Woman, which took place last weekend. I'm trying to get this video out really quick because I was out of town for part of the week. Basically, this was a competition that I'd done before. The first time I'd done it was in 2022, a year after I had gotten back to Ohio from Texas. Doug Madewell is the meet director for this, and the cool part about Doug Madewell being the meet director is that that also means that you're using Madewell Strength Equipment, which is a local Ohio manufacturer of some pretty good strength equipment, especially when you consider the price along with the quality that you're getting. Doug himself is a pro strongman, which means that you get that kind of user input into how a piece of equipment is made. The reason that that is important and unique to someone like me is because there's not that many companies out there that truly take into account what a strongman piece of equipment needs to have in the same way that Doug Madewell does. So really cool to go out there, but it was 5 events. It ended up being a very long day, but there was also something like 90 athletes at this. So event number 1 is a Viking Press and a 60-second time limit. The weight was 220 pounds. After that, we did a max distance, no time cap, max distance, Conans Wheel, and I believe that that was 350 pounds. And then the car yoke carry for 25 feet. Now the car yoke carry was announced as the car yoke carry very early in the advertising of the show, but what wasn't specified was the distance or the weight. I ignored Iron Podium for like a week leading up to the competition, which is a huge mistake on my part, but when I showed up, found out that the car was gonna weigh 700 pounds and it was an old 2003 Volkswagen Beetle. After that, we did a bus pull. I actually think I have those reversed. So we did bus pull third, then we did the car yoke carry, and then the last event was the max deadlift. It was advertised as a last man standing, but essentially you were able to jump in as many times as you wanted and take an attempt. Which was nice. It's a little bit different. A lot of times they're using Wessel's rule, which is becoming really popular, which is essentially you get 60 seconds to pull the weight. If you miss an attempt, you're out for the rest of the day, but you also only get 3 pulls. So that's how it went. And I wanted to go through some of the footage with you guys as well as the scoreboard as we go through it. So again, I've got this video from 2 different angles. My wife and my daughters were there, which was really awesome. I love it when they can show up to competitions. But also Big Hogan from the Discord crew was also there. He took the video from behind. He had a really good view, and my wife is on the opposite end of this. Now, if you've done Viking Press before, you're watching this and you're wondering, why is Kurt just strict pressing? And the big reason is because during warm-ups, because this is only 220 pounds, during warm-ups, what I kept finding is when I was strict pressing, that pendulum of the weight kept on rocking forward and backward and forward and backward. And as a result, my left shoulder was already kind of inflamed and aggravated, and I just didn't feel comfortable with that swing. And so I just strict pressed as much as I could, and then just took as many breaks as I wanted. That was one of the unique parts about this particular Viking Press, is that you could set it down. You could set it down, there's no harm, no foul, set it down, you get 60 seconds to go. So there it was. I also missed like 2 or 3 reps from the judge because I wasn't waiting for the down command. He was a little bit on the soft-spoken side, but once I could hear for his voice, obviously I did pretty well. Now, event number 2 was the Conans Wheel, and it moved pretty good. Event 1 and event 2 for 90 athletes, it went really well, and the reason it did is because Doug actually had several different lanes set up, so up to 3. So here's like a little test pick. So they said that you could get up there and take a test pick. So I did a test pick and then I started walking. Now Conans Wheel is kind of boring to watch, so I'm gonna kind of fast forward through this a little bit. But essentially I made it through about 7 turns. And what ended up making me stop is because on one of them I started to stutter step. I was gassed, I was tired, I'd been carrying it for a hot minute. And the corner of the actual weight implement brushed the ground. Now, one of the other athletes had gotten called on this. They said that's the end of your run. And when I felt that weight brush the ground, I basically went out and like called myself out because I just didn't feel comfortable because they didn't notice it. The judge didn't notice that the weight touched the ground, but I did. And because of that, I just called myself out. Yeah. After that, we go into the bus pull. Now the bus pull was fun. I actually didn't realize how fast I had pulled the bus. I thought I'd gone pretty slow, but had one of the 181 athletes pulling slack on the rope for me, which was, again, really awesome. I love it when someone sets me up for success with a really nice tight rope on that, and he did a good job, especially for a 181. Normally you get like a 300-pound dude pulling that rope for you, but that 181 guy was pretty strong. So ended up going on this, and I think it took me like 19 seconds. I don't wear shoes. I don't wear climbing shoes. I think this is one event where, you know, do what works for you. But I personally think that a lot of people just kind of overthink this, and they like wear climbing shoes and all this stuff. And I'm like, listen, if you're like competing at the highest levels, cool. If you're just interested in getting into strongman and want to go pull a bus, just go pull a dang bus. Like, I wouldn't recommend wearing lifters, but just put on your shoes. I just wore my barefoots for everything except for the Viking Press. And I got that from two different angles. Hogan, I didn't even know Hogan was taking the other view on this one, by the way, but ended up pulling that in just under 20 seconds. Lost tension on the rope at the very end, and what I've learned from the past is just get rid of the rope when you lose it. That brought us up to the car yoke. Now, this was one of the big frustration points for me personally, and again, there's a lot that goes into running a strongman competition, so I am not knocking Doug at all. You end up short-staffed, you end up, you know, basically having to make every decision. There's a lot that goes into it. But we had a period of time of about an hour and a half to 2 hours between when we warmed up using one of the Madewell strength yokes and then going up to the car yoke. And again, a lot of that was for good reason. We had some amazing ladies in the women's division that went out and actually carried the yoke. There was one lady that did it nearly unbroken for 600 or 700 pounds, which is phenomenal to see, but it took so long that my first pick was basically just to kind of like get my hips back under the bar, because all that I could do was stand to the side and like do some jumps right before I was gonna go just to warm myself back up. And then my second pick, I went like 2 steps and realized I kind of had rushed into the pick for that, and then I put it back down, picked it up, and I did the rest of the movement. I feel like I could have done better on this particular one, especially considering that like the place I got on this wasn't necessarily all that good. But when we get into scores, I'll kind of talk a little bit more about that. At the end of the day, though, it was super cool to carry a car. That was something I'd never done before, something I was grateful for, and now I can say that I've carried a Volkswagen Bug. So after that, we went into doing the max deadlift. Now, as I talked about during the rules for the event, it was basically as many attempts as you want, like basically step up to the bar. If you want it to count as one of your attempts, which are unlimited, so why would you not tell them your name? You basically just told the scorekeeper your name and the judge would judge your lift. I ended up jumping in, so I think it was like 245 and 325, and I just didn't say my name, even though Doug knows me. I'm pretty sure it was his daughter was his scorekeeper, so like Doug knew who I was, so if it counted, he would have told her. But at 415 and up, I basically walked up and I was just like, Curtis, did my lift, got my down command, and went on to the next thing. But this is the beautiful part about this. First, second, and third, and I'll drop their names during the scorecard breakdown. But we were all like really pushing each other. This is a really healthy, competitive environment. Plus, the podium was just strong dudes that knew what they were doing, that were just awesome. Like I really enjoyed competing with these guys, and we were all pushing each other. Keep in mind, at this point, we've been competing for about 10 hours. Now, a lot of that is downtime spent out in the sun. For instance, like I ended up plugging some M777 pre-workout in between the car yoke, which was at like 5 p.m. or 6 p.m. or something like that. And it was just like I needed it to stay awake, because at that point in time, we'd been out there for so long waiting to go. Thank God for UXO supplements, and that one, please, by all means. Like I normally don't take pre-workout at competitions, but I've always carried a dose just in case. M777 came in absolutely clutch. It was the perfect amount of caffeine. Check out the link below. I get a little bit of cut from that. They don't sponsor the video. They don't tell me to say these things. I get to push these at my own leisure, but you get the point. So long day, we go in, and none of us, we're all like talking to each other like, hey, like, what do you think you're gonna get to? And I remember even telling some of the other athletes, like, I would love it if I broke 600 today. So I pulled 585 coming out of America's Strongest Veteran. My coach, Andrew Haynes, he had me basically just do a testing day where I figured out where my max was for the deadlift, and then I ended up pulling 585. And it was a struggle fest, but it went up. And I was like, I'd love it if I can make a 20-pound PR during comp. I was like, but it's been a long day. So we're encouraging each other. We're going. We're doing our 20-pound jumps for this last man standing. And 575, it was like a 30-pound jump that I had to like decide that I was gonna make. So it was like, because it went 20-pound, 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 30-pound jump. So like 10s, 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 plate. And that's just the way strongman goes. You don't get to call your attempts. You basically jump in at the weight that you want to do, or at least for, you know, these parking lot shows, that's how it goes. And yeah, so it was like 575 was on the bar, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna take 575. That's 10 pounds below my all-time PR. And then it was 605 on the bar. And I was like, you know what? It doesn't matter if I don't get it, I'm gonna go. And I ended up putting 605 on the bar, and it went, I'm actually not too disappointed with my positioning either. Like, I would say that my thoracic spine is definitely in flexion a little bit, but by no means am I embarrassed by that lift at all. Very excited, nice little victory fist pump there at the end. But yeah, it was a really great day. So getting into the scorecard of it, so like Viking Press was first, and I'm reading off of my tablet here, but open middle weight, me right there. So Viking Press, I did 17 reps. If you actually watch the video, I think I did like 19 or 20. Again, the guy probably spoke normally, but I'm already kind of hard of hearing, and it was just loud, so I didn't hear him on the first couple. But yeah, so 17, and it was really close, right? So like, I got 17, Kyler got 16 reps, David Gonzer got 15 reps, and Will Winton, he got 14. So like, it was actually a pretty close spread right there. I could probably have done more if I push pressed more of those reps, but again, don't really care. It doesn't matter to me. And then for the Conans Wheel, I did push just over 7 laps. I only got credit for 7, but it doesn't matter because I won that event too. So that's 6 points for each of those. And then we go on to like the car yoke. For the car yoke, which was not there, I'm gonna go with the bus pull. So then we went to the bus pull. So I pulled in 19 seconds flat, which is actually one of the best times at the competition, which again, like in the moment, I was super frustrated. I was like, man, this bus ain't moving. Like, we're not going anywhere. But again, 19 seconds, which won me the class by about 1.5, rounding down, 1.4 seconds, basically won the class. And then the car yoke is where things kind of like took a turn, right? So like, had to do 3 different picks. It was max attempts to get the yoke across the line for 25 feet. But I ended up only getting 4 points, so I got 3rd place during that event. And then again, it doesn't matter at the end of the day. I'm just happy that I finished it. But it was a rough go, let me just say that. And then we go up to the deadlift, and so basically it broke out 1st, 2nd, 3rd. So like, I pulled 605. Will Winton, who ended up getting 2nd on the podium, he pulled 5. I'm gonna link their Instagrams below as well. These guys are absolutely awesome. So make sure you give them a follow, good training content. And then David Gonser, 535 pull, excellent job. It was absolutely amazing competing with you. So that meant that the final podium numbers were me in the lead with 28 points, Will Winton right behind me at 21.5, David Gonser at 18, and then Kyler at 15, Joseph at 14, and Chris Klett at 8.5. And like I said, if you've never competed strongman, the points are basically if you win the event, however many athletes there are, that's how many points you get, and then you get 1 less point per time you go down. So it really is a very steep hill, especially if I come in and I get first on 3 events in a row. It makes it really difficult for anybody to catch up. But again, I don't game these things. When I show up to competition day, I don't game it. I know there's a lot of people that do, and they think it makes them smarter. But what I find is that every single time I try to game my effort, it makes me dumber, and I usually fail. Oklahoma's Strongest Man 2019 is a great example of this. Kind of got in my own head, thought I was strategizing, but at the end of the day, I just go out there and I just do the best that I can on that day. So that's it for this wrap up. Again, please go check out UXO Supplements. A huge thanks to Doug Madewell and his crew. They actually did a really good job. It was a long day, don't get me wrong. It was an 11-hour day of me at this competition space with my family. Got to give my wife like huge kudos because she wrangled the kids the whole time. My little girls did great. And again, Strongman is a sport for families. So if you're curious about Strongman, please hit me up in my DMs. Drop a comment on this video, but I think that this could be a sport that grows a lot. I just want to know how I can help it get there. So that's been it for this video. Appreciate you guys that watch every week, and remember that I don't do sign-offs anymore.